John Hayes was enjoying his morning coffee on the porch of his cabin when his phone rang. 5 years into retirement, the former commander of Earth's defense forces rarely got calls this early. He answered with a frown. Hayes speaking. Commander, we need you back. Now. The voice belonged to General Frank Williams. Hayes hadn't heard that tone since the resource wars of 2040. What happened? Not over the phone. A car will pick you up in 30 minutes. 3 hours later, Hayes walked into the United Earth Defense Headquarters. The massive underground complex in Colorado was buzzing with unusual activity. Technicians ran between stations. Officers spoke in hushed, urgent tones. Williams met him at the security checkpoint. The general's face was grim. Glad you could make it, John. Did I have a choice? Williams didn't smile. Follow me. They entered the main control room, where a large screen showed the solar system. Several large red dots were moving slowly toward Earth. What am I looking at? Hayes asked. That's what our deep space monitors picked up yesterday. 7 objects, each about 3 miles long. They're ships, John. Alien ships. Hayes felt his mouth go dry. First contact. Not exactly. Williams handed him a tablet. This came in 2 hours ago. Hayes pressed play on the video file. The screen showed a tall, thin creature with gray-blue skin and 4 arms. Its large black eyes stared directly at the camera. People of Earth, the alien said in perfect English, I am Supreme Admiral Kraz Thar of the Vorn Empire. For decades we have observed your primitive civilization. We have studied your languages, your weapons, and your weaknesses. Your planet has resources we require. You have 2 options. Surrender completely or be destroyed completely. You have 30 of your Earth days to decide. Choose wisely. The video ended. Hayes looked up at Williams. Is this real? Very. Every major government got the same message. The president is meeting with world leaders right now, but they wanted you here first. Why me? I'm retired. Williams pointed to another screen showing a woman working in a lab. Because of her, Dr. Samantha Miller, top physicist. For years, she's been working on a theory about manipulating particles at the quantum level. Everyone thought her ideas were too advanced to be practical. I don't understand what this has to do with aliens, Hayes said. Everything. Dr. Miller's work might be our only chance. We've been developing something in secret, Project Stardust, but we need someone to lead the military response if we can make it work. Hayes watched the scientist on the screen. She looked young, maybe early 30s, with dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her face showed complete focus as she studied complex equations on a holographic display. The Vorn think we're primitive, Williams continued. They expect us to panic or surrender. They don't know about Stardust. Before Hayes could ask more questions, an aide rushed in. Sir, we just lost our Mars outpost. The aliens destroyed it without warning. Williams cursed. They're not waiting 30 days. They're already attacking our outer defenses. He turned to Hayes. So, Commander, are you back in? Hayes looked again at the screen showing the alien ships. Humanity had never faced a threat like this before. He thought about his quiet retirement, his peaceful life. Then he thought about what would happen if these aliens couldn't be stopped. Get me a uniform, he said, and get Dr. Miller here now. If she's our best hope, I need to know exactly what she's been working on. Williams nodded and began giving orders to his staff. Hayes stared at the approaching red dots on the screen. Earth had 30 days to find a way to fight back against an enemy that had conquered countless worlds. The odds seemed impossible, but maybe, just maybe, Dr. Miller's wild theories might give them a chance. The battle for Earth had begun. Dr. Samantha Miller arrived at the defense headquarters 6 hours later. She looked tired but alert as she was escorted into a small meeting room where Hayes and Williams waited. Dr. Miller, thank you for coming so quickly, Williams said. When the military sends 3 armed guards to your lab, it's hard to say no. She looked at Hayes. Who's this? Commander John Hayes. He's going to lead our defense efforts. Hayes extended his hand. Doctor, I've heard your work might be our only chance against these aliens. She shook his hand firmly. My work is theoretical. I don't see how it helps against an alien invasion. Williams pressed a button, and the wall slid open to reveal an elevator. It's time you both saw Project Stardust. The elevator descended for nearly 2 minutes before stopping. When the doors opened, they stepped into a massive underground facility that stretched farther than Hayes could see. What is this place? Miller asked, her eyes wide. The biggest secret on Earth, Williams answered. 15 years ago, something crashed in northern Canada. It wasn't from Earth. They walked through the facility, passing labs where scientists worked on strange-looking equipment. Hayes noticed that many of the devices had an odd flowing design unlike any human technology he had seen. Williams continued, it was a small scout ship from the Vorn Empire. We recovered the craft and one dead alien pilot. We've been studying and reverse engineering their technology ever since. Miller stopped walking. You've had alien technology for 15 years and never told the scientific community. National security, Williams said simply. Only 5 people in each major government knew about this place, until today. They entered a large circular room. In the center sat a device about the size of a car. It had a metallic core surrounded by rings that slowly rotated in different directions. This is where you come in, Dr. Miller, Williams said. 6 years ago, we found your research papers on quantum particle manipulation. Your theories match what we were seeing in the alien technology, but you were approaching it from a completely different angle. Miller walked slowly around the device. This is a physical version of my theoretical model. Yes, Williams said, but we hit a wall. The engineers could build it based on the alien tech, but no one fully understood the science. That's why we need you. Hayes watched as Miller examined the device with growing excitement. This could actually work, she whispered, with some modifications. Williams' phone beeped. He checked it and frowned. We need to move faster. The Vorn just destroyed our lunar monitoring station. A young officer rushed into the room. Sir, we have new intel. The Space Force intercepted communications between the Vorn ships. They're discussing Earth's defenses. They sound amused. Hayes felt a flash of anger. They think this is going to be easy. There's more, the officer said. They mentioned a pilot named Lucy Martinez. Said she might be the only human who presents any challenge. Who is Martinez? Hayes asked. One of our best, Williams replied. She's currently at the Nevada base training pilots. Williams turned to Miller. Doctor, I need to know if you can make this technology work as a weapon against the Vorn. Miller took a deep breath. Based on what I'm seeing, yes. This device manipulates particles at the quantum level. With adjustments, it could potentially disrupt the molecular structure of specific materials. She looked around the room. Do you have samples of the alien ship's hull? Williams nodded. We do. Then get me a team of your best scientists, and I need all the data you've collected on the Vorn technology. Hayes felt a small spark of hope for the first time since seeing the alien message. How long will you need? He asked. Miller looked at him with intense eyes. The aliens gave us 30 days. I'll need at least 20, and even then, I can't promise anything. Hayes nodded. I'll buy you as much time as I can. As they left the room, Hayes made a decision. General, I want to meet this pilot, Martinez. If the Vorn thinks she's special, I need to know why. Williams agreed. I'll arrange it. But first, we need to brief the president. The world needs to prepare, but without causing panic. Hayes looked back at the strange device. Earth's fate might depend on an untested theory, a retired commander, and a pilot the aliens feared. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The Nevada desert stretched for miles in every direction. Hayes watched from a viewing platform as 6 sleek aircraft performed impossible maneuvers in the clear blue sky. They moved faster than any jets he had ever seen, turning at angles that should have killed their pilots. "Impressive, aren't they?" said a voice behind him. Hayes turned to see a woman in a flight suit. She was short but stood with perfect posture, her brown hair cut close to her head. The name patch on her uniform read Martinez. "You must be the pilot the Vorn are worried about," Hayes said. Lucy Martinez smiled. "So they've heard of me." "Unflattered. They should be worried. Your flying is unlike anything I've seen." "That's because these aren't normal planes." She pointed to the aircraft. "They incorporate some of the alien tech from the crashed ship. They can withstand forces that would crush a human body in a regular jet." Before Hayes could ask more questions, an alarm sounded. Martinez's smile disappeared. "That's the emergency signal. Something's happening." They rushed to the command center where officers gathered around screens showing satellite images. A Vorn ship had entered Earth's atmosphere and was hovering over Brazil. "Why aren't they attacking?" Hayes asked. "They're scanning," Martinez explained, "looking for weaknesses, mapping our defenses." A communications officer called out, "We're receiving a transmission from the alien ship." On the main screen, Admiral Krasthar appeared. His forearms were crossed in what seemed like a gesture of contempt. "Humans, we have analyzed your pathetic weapons. They cannot harm us. Your nuclear missiles would be destroyed before reaching our ships. Your aircraft are too slow. Your soldiers too weak. Submit to the Vorn Empire now, and we will allow some of you to live as servants." The transmission ended. Hayes felt the weight of everyone's stares. "Get me a secure line to Project Stardust," he ordered. Minutes later, Dr. Miller's face appeared on a private screen. "Please tell me you're making progress," Hayes said. Miller looked exhausted but excited. "Better than expected. The Vorn ships use a metal alloy that's particularly vulnerable to the quantum disruption field we're developing. I think we can make it work." "How long?" 2 more weeks at least. We need to build devices small enough to mount on aircraft, but powerful enough to affect the Vorn ships." Hayes frowned. "The aliens are already scanning our cities. We may not have 2 weeks. "Then buy us time," Miller said firmly. "Distract them. Make them think we're no threat." After the call ended, Hayes turned to Martinez. "I need your help. We're going to show the Vorn exactly what they expect to see, a disorganized, primitive defense." For the next week, Earth's militaries performed exercises that deliberately revealed outdated weapons and poor tactics. The Vorn watched and occasionally sent mocking messages about human weakness. Meanwhile, in secret facilities around the world, Miller's team worked day and night on the quantum disruption devices. Hayes visited the main lab and found Miller asleep at her workstation, complex equations floating on screens around her. "She hasn't slept more than 3 hours a night," said one of the other scientists. "But she's brilliant. We've made more progress in 1 week than we did in years." Martinez's pilots trained with prototype versions of the devices, learning how to get close enough to the alien ships to activate them without being detected. Then came the news they had been dreading. The main Vorn fleet had reached Mars orbit and destroyed the human research bases there. Thousands of colonists died instantly. "They're coming faster than we expected," Hayes told the Emergency Council. "We have maybe 5 days before they reach Earth." World leaders argued about whether to surrender, but Hayes remained firm. "We need to hold out just a little longer. We have a plan." But privately, he wondered if it would be enough. The quantum devices were still untested against actual Vorn ships. If they failed, humanity would have no defense against the coming storm. Dr. Miller stood before the gathered military leaders in the underground command center. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, but her voice was strong as she explained their plan. "We call it the Quantum Resonance Amplifier, or QRA for short." She pointed to a device on the table. It was the size of a microwave oven, with a glowing blue core. It creates a field that affects certain types of molecules, specifically the molecules in the Vorn ship hulls. Hayes picked up the device. It was lighter than it looked. "And this will damage their ships." "Not damage," Miller corrected. "It will turn them to dust. The QRA disrupts the bonds between atoms. Their ships will literally fall apart. General Williams frowned. You sound certain, but this has never been tested on an actual Vorn ship. We tested it on samples from the crashed scout ship, Miller replied. The effect is consistent every time. Martinez, who had been quiet until now, asked the key question. What's the range? Miller's expression grew serious. That's the problem. Currently, about half a mile. To affect the Vorn fleet, we need to get very close to their ships. A heavy silence filled the room. Getting within half a mile of the alien warships seemed impossible. There's more, Miller continued. The effect spreads. Once one section of a ship starts to break down, it creates a chain reaction, and if ships are close enough to each other, the effect can jump between them. Hayes's mind raced with possibilities. So if we can hit just a few ships in their formation, we might take down their entire fleet, Miller finished. But the initial strike has to be precise. Martinez stood up. My pilots can do it. We've been training in the enhanced aircraft. We can get close enough. It's a suicide mission, Williams objected. Not necessarily, Hayes said. We need a strategy that plays into the Vorn's arrogance. They think we're primitive and disorganized. We'll show them exactly what they expect to see. Over the next 2 days, Hayes and Martinez developed their plan. Earth's conventional forces would launch an apparently desperate attack against the Vorn fleet. While the aliens were distracted by this obvious threat, Martinez's squadron would approach from multiple angles, carrying the QRA devices. We need to get them to bunch together, Hayes explained to the world leaders. The closer their ships are to each other, the better chance we have of the quantum effect spreading through their entire fleet. Some nations refused to participate, preferring to surrender. Others insisted on launching nuclear weapons, despite Hayes's warnings that they would be ineffective. The world was fracturing under the pressure of imminent invasion. The night before the Vorn were expected to enter Earth orbit, Hayes found Miller working alone in her lab. Shouldn't you be resting? He asked. Tomorrow's the big day. She didn't look up from her work. I'm trying to increase the range of the QRA. If I can get it to reach just a quarter mile farther, it doubles our chances of success. Hayes watched her adjust delicate components inside one of the devices. Can it be done? Yes, but it's risky. I'm pushing the power beyond the tested limits. She finally looked at him. Don't tell the others. If it works, great. If not, the original settings should still function. Your secret is safe with me, Hayes promised. He hesitated, then added, Do you think we have a chance tomorrow? Miller set down her tools and stood up straight. The Vorn have conquered dozens of worlds. They've never lost a war, but they've never faced humans before. She smiled for the first time in days. We're more resourceful than they realize, and by this time tomorrow, they'll know it. As Hayes left the lab, emergency sirens began to wail. The Vorn fleet had arrived earlier than expected. Earth's last stand would begin at dawn. Dawn broke over a world holding its breath. The Vorn fleet hung in low Earth orbit, 7 massive ships that blocked out the stars. Smaller vessels moved between them like worker bees around hives. In the Nevada desert base, Lucy Martinez zipped up her flight suit and addressed the 20 pilots chosen for the mission. They stood in a half-circle around her, faces grim but determined. Today we fly for all of humanity, she said simply. Each of our ships carries a QRA device. Get within range of a Vorn ship, activate the device, then get out fast. If you can't get out, she paused. Make it count. Across the base, Hayes watched the pilots from a distance. He had given many pre-battle speeches in his career, but none seemed appropriate now. What could you say to people who might not return? His phone rang. It was Alan Parker, who led Earth's diplomatic team. The Vorn just sent another message, Parker said, his voice tight with stress. They demand our surrender within 1 hour, or they'll start destroying major cities. Keep talking to them, Hayes instructed. Ask questions, request clarification, anything to buy us more time. In the command center, Hayes joined Williams and other military leaders. Screens showed the Vorn fleet and Earth's defenses mobilizing around the globe. Martinez's squadron is ready, Williams reported. Regular air forces are in position. Naval vessels are at battle stations. And the QRA devices? Hayes asked. All installed and functioning. A technician answered. Dr. Miller made last-minute adjustments to increase their range. Hayes nodded. Then we're as ready as we'll ever be. At exactly 7:00 a.m., the largest Vorn ship moved directly over New York City. A bright beam of energy shot from its underside, slicing through several skyscrapers. Panic spread across the city as buildings collapsed. They're starting, Williams said grimly. Hayes picked up a secure phone. Launch Operation Stardust. Now. Across the planet, conventional military forces attacked the Vorn fleet. Fighter jets, missiles, and orbital defense platforms all fired at once in an apparently uncoordinated assault. As expected, the aliens easily destroyed these threats, their superior weapons swatting away Earth's attacks like annoying insects. On the main command screen, Admiral Krasthar appeared, his black eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Your resistance is pathetic, he said. Surrender now, and the destruction will cease. Hayes stepped forward. This is Commander Hayes of Earth Defense. We request time to organize our surrender properly. Krasthar made a sound like grinding metal, possibly laughter. You may have one of your Earth hours. Then we will begin systematic elimination of your population centers. When the transmission ended, Williams looked at Hayes with concern. Are you actually considering surrender? No, Hayes replied. I'm giving Martines time to get in position, while the Vorn are congratulating themselves on their easy victory. High above the Atlantic Ocean, Martinez led her squadron toward the Vorn fleet. Their enhanced aircraft remained undetected thanks to stealth technology based on the alien scout ship. They approached from different angles, aiming for specific targets in the Vorn formation. Remember your training, Martinez said over the secure channel. Get in range, activate the QRA, and get out. May luck be with us all. In the underground lab, Miller watched the operation unfold on monitoring screens. The QRA devices showed as small blue dots moving toward the much larger red shapes of the Vorn ships. Will it work? Asked a young scientist beside her. Miller took a deep breath. The math says yes, but there are always variables we can't predict. One of the blue dots blinked out as a Vorn patrol ship detected and destroyed one of Martinez's squadron. Then another disappeared. They're being spotted, someone said anxiously. Miller gripped the edge of the console. They just need one to get through. Just one. Above the planet, Martinez's fighter dodged energy beams as she closed in on the Lid Vorn ship. The massive vessel filled her view, its alien surface covered with strange patterns and glowing sections. I'm in position, she reported. Activating QRA in 3, 2, 1. Martinez pressed the activation button and held her breath. For several seconds, nothing happened. Her fighter shook as a near miss from a Vorn weapon passed by. QRA activated but no visible effect, she reported, disappointment heavy in her voice. In the command center, Hayes and Williams exchanged worried looks. Miller, what's happening? Hayes demanded over the comlink. Dr. Miller studied the readings on her screen. The effect isn't instant. It needs time to. Wait. It's starting. Martinez gasped as a small section of the Vorn ship began to shimmer like a heat mirage. The metal surface seemed to ripple and flow. Then, to her amazement, it started to break apart into tiny particles that drifted away into space. It's working, she shouted. The hull is disintegrating. On the main view screen in the command center, they could all see it happening. A growing patch on the Lid Vorn ship was turning into a cloud of glittering dust. The effect spread slowly at first, then faster, eating away at the massive vessel like a rapidly expanding rust. Admiral Krasthar's face appeared on the emergency channel. For the first time, he showed an emotion other than arrogance. Fear. "What is this primitive trickery?" he demanded. "What have you done?" Hayes stepped forward. "We've shown you that humans aren't as primitive as you thought." Krasthar barked orders in his alien language. The Vorn ships began to move apart, trying to distance themselves from the affected vessel. But it was too late for 3 of them that had been positioned too close together. "The effect is jumping between ships," Miller announced excitedly. "Just as we hoped." Martinez and her remaining pilots activated their QRA devices near other Vorn ships, creating multiple points where the quantum effect began breaking down the alien vessels. "All pilots, clear the area," Martinez ordered. "Return to base." Not all of them made it. 2 more fighters were caught by Vorn weapons and destroyed. Martinez felt each loss like a physical blow, but kept flying, leading the survivors away from the rapidly disintegrating fleet. In orbit, the scene was both beautiful and terrifying. 4 of the 7 Vorn ships were now more dust than solid, their massive forms dissolving into sparkling clouds that caught the sunlight. 2 others showed growing patches of the same effect. Only Krasthar's command ship remained mostly intact, its engines glowing bright as it tried to escape Earth's gravity. "They're running," Williams said with disbelief in his voice. "Not all of them will make it," Miller replied, studying her instruments. "The quantum effect has reached critical spread. Even the command ship has been contaminated." On screens around the world, people watched as the mighty Vorn fleet literally turned to dust before their eyes. The particles spread out in a glittering cloud that encircled the planet like a new ring. Krasthar made one final transmission. His ship was visibly breaking apart behind him as he spoke. "This is not over, humans," he growled. "The Vorn Empire spans 1,000 worlds. More ships will come. More." The transmission cut off as his ship succumbed to the quantum effect, dissolving completely into the growing cloud of dust. In the silence that followed, Hayes turned to Williams. "Send recovery teams for our pilots, and get me a direct line to every world leader. We won." While celebrations erupted across the planet, Martinez landed her fighter at the Nevada base. Her hand shook as she removed her helmet. Of the 20 pilots who had taken off that morning, only 7 returned. The price had been high, but humanity had survived. In her lab, Miller continued to monitor the readings from the dust cloud that had been the Vorn fleet. Something unusual was happening to the particles, something she hadn't predicted. They were entering Earth's atmosphere, burning up like countless meteors, creating spectacular light shows across the night sky. "Earth's first line of defense," she murmured, watching the beautiful display. "And hopefully our last." But deep in her heart, she knew Krasthar's final warning might prove true. This victory might be just the beginning of a much larger war. 3 days after the battle, Hayes stood in the White House Rose Garden with world leaders, scientists, and the surviving pilots. President Eleanor Grant addressed the gathered crowd and the billions watching worldwide. "Today, we honor those who gave their lives to protect our planet," she said. "And we celebrate those whose courage and brilliance saved us all." She presented medals to Martinez and her pilots. Dr. Miller received special recognition for her work on the QRA technology. Hayes watched from the side, content to remain out of the spotlight. After the ceremony, Hayes, Miller, and Martinez met in a private room with the president and her security team. "The celebration is well-deserved," President Grant said, "but we must discuss the future. Admiral Krasthar's final warning troubles me." "He said more ships will come," Hayes confirmed, "and I believe him. The Vorn won't take this defeat lightly." Miller opened a laptop and showed them images of the dust cloud that once was the Vorn fleet. "We've been collecting samples of the particles. They contain technology far beyond ours. If we can study it, we might be able to prepare better defenses. And weapons," Martinez added. "Next time, we should take the fight to them instead of waiting for them to reach Earth." President Grant nodded. "I've spoken with other world leaders. We've agreed to form a United Earth Defense Force with you, Commander Hayes, as its leader." Hayes hadn't expected this. "Madam President, I'm honored, but—" "No buts, Commander. Or should I say, Admiral Hayes now. You led us through this crisis. We need you for what comes next. Later that evening, Hayes found Martinez staring at the night sky from the White House balcony. The Vorn dust still created occasional streaks of light as particles entered the atmosphere. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she said. "Hard to believe each streak was once part of a ship that came to destroy us." Hayes leaned on the railing beside her. "The pilots who didn't make it, did you know them well?" Martinez nodded. "All of them. We trained together for years." She was quiet for a moment. "I keep thinking about what Krasthar said. 1,000 worlds. How do we fight an empire that size?" "One step at a time," Hayes replied, "starting with what we learned from them." Across the building, Miller worked late in a makeshift lab. She studied a small container of the Vorn dust under a microscope. Even broken down to particles, the alien technology continued to show unusual properties. Her phone rang. It was Hayes. "Any new discoveries?" he asked. "Several," she replied. "The particles are still active in some way. They respond to electrical fields. And I found something else. Data. Some particles contain what looks like computer code." "Can you read it?" "Not yet. But I'm working on it. It might give us information about the Vorn homeworld or their technology." The next morning, Hayes met with engineers and scientists from around the world. Plans were already underway to build Earth's first true space battleship, using knowledge gained from the Vorn technology. "We're calling it the Defender," a NASA engineer explained, showing Hayes the designs. "It will carry multiple QRA devices and have engines based on Vorn propulsion systems." "How long until it's ready?" Hayes asked. "With global cooperation, maybe 2 years." Hayes frowned. The Vorn could return before then. Miller, who had joined the meeting, spoke up. "I've been analyzing communication patterns from the fleet before we destroyed it. Based on their transmissions, I believe the nearest Vorn reinforcements are at least 3 years away." This brought some relief to the room. They had time. Not much, but enough to prepare. As the meeting continued, a military aide entered and handed Hayes a note. He read it, his expression turning serious. "Something's happening at the Project Stardust facility," he announced. "One of the devices salvaged from the scout ship has activated on its own. It's receiving a transmission." The room fell silent as Hayes looked at Miller and Martinez. "It seems someone noticed that we just destroyed a Vorn fleet," he said quietly. "And they're trying to contact us." Hayes, Miller, and Martinez stood in the secure room at Project Stardust, staring at the alien device on the table. It had been inactive for 15 years, but now it glowed with a soft blue light and emitted a gentle humming sound. "Can we determine where the transmission is coming from?" Hayes asked. Miller adjusted several instruments connected to the device. "It appears to be coming from somewhere near the Tau Ceti system, about 12 light-years away." "Is it the Vorn?" Martins asked, her hand resting on her sidearm. "I don't think so," Miller replied. "The signal pattern is completely different." As they watched, the device projected a holographic image above the table. A figure appeared, clearly not Vorn. This alien was smaller, with a slender body, 6 limbs, and skin that shifted colors like a chameleon. Its large eyes blinked slowly as it studied them. "People of Earth," it said in perfect English, "I am Ambassador Zilka of the Galactic Council. We have observed your conflict with the Vorn Empire." Hayes stepped forward. "I am Admiral Hayes of Earth. How do you know our language?" "We have monitored your world for many years," Zilka replied. "The Council observes all developing worlds. The Vorn violated our protocols by attacking you before you achieved interstellar travel capabilities." Miller joined Hayes. "Are you saying there are rules about first contact?" "Indeed. The Vorn ignore these rules frequently. They are conquerors, not explorers." The alien's skin rippled with dark colors. "But never before have they been defeated so thoroughly by a developing world." "Will they return?" Martins asked directly. "Eventually. But your victory has caused confusion within their command structure. You have time to prepare. Zilka's colors shifted to lighter hues, and perhaps gain allies. Hayes raised an eyebrow. Is that why you're contacting us? To offer an alliance? To offer consideration? The alien's image flickered slightly. The Galactic Council consists of 27 spacefaring civilizations. Some believe humans are too violent and unpredictable for membership. Others, myself included, see potential in your species. What would membership mean? Miller asked. Access to advanced technology, trade routes, cultural exchange, and protection from threats like the Vorn. The alien's colors pulsed. But first, you must prove yourselves worthy. We just destroyed a Vorn fleet, Martins pointed out. Isn't that proof enough? Zilka made a gesture that might have been amusement. Defeating enemies shows strength. The Council also values wisdom, cooperation, and sustainable development. You have much to demonstrate in these areas. The alien touched something off-screen, and a small section of the device detached itself, revealing a crystal component. This contains basic information about the Council and nearby star systems. Consider it a gift and a test. Your ability to understand and use this knowledge will influence the Council's decision regarding Earth. The transmission faded, leaving them staring at the softly glowing crystal. Miller carefully picked it up. This could advance our technology by centuries. The math alone. Can we trust them? Martins asked. This could be a trick, like a more sophisticated version of what the Vorn tried. Hayes considered this. Maybe. But we have to take the chance. Knowledge is our best defense right now. In the weeks that followed, Earth continued to prepare for the possibility of another Vorn attack. The dust from their destroyed fleet provided valuable materials for research, and construction began on orbital defense platforms equipped with QRA technology. Miller led a team studying the alien crystal, which contained star charts, basic principles of faster-than-light travel, and information about various species in the galaxy, including the Vorn. 1 month after the Vorn defeat, Hayes stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed space station Unity. Below him, Earth looked peaceful, its blue oceans and swirling clouds hiding the frantic activity of a civilization preparing for war while hoping for peace. Martinez joined him, now wearing the uniform of the Earth Defense Forces Space Division. The first Defender-class ship begins construction next week, she said. They're naming it the Martins, after you. She smiled. I asked them to name the second one after you. Hayes shook his head. I prefer to stay out of the spotlight. They watched as the sun rose over Earth's horizon, bathing the planet in golden light. What do you think will happen? Martins asked quietly. Will we join this Galactic Council? Will the Vorn return first? Hayes placed a hand on the viewport. I don't know, but whatever comes next, we'll be ready. The universe knows now that humans aren't easy prey. Far below, in Miller's lab, the alien crystal pulsed with new information, a message that would soon change humanity's destiny forever.